Yud Aleph Amud Beis. We said that if you hang two corners of strings on a beged at the same time, it doesn't work because being knaf b'shas p'sil, you need when you need one corner, not two, because the Torah says knaf tchil tchelas. You hung the strings, but you didn't cut them. Psulin. And my lab psulin lo'ilam. This is against Rav, who says it's kosher if you cut them. To you have to derive. I'm like Rav, my psulim psulin sheyifsaku. It's possible till you cut them. Shmuel amar psulin lo'ilam. Shmuel says if you hung them uncut and then cut them once they're on the tzitzis, you didn't hang it l'shem tzitzis. V'chein amar Levi psulin lo'ilam. V'chein amar Rav Master amar Shmuel psulin lo'ilam. It's not good. You can't correct it. I once tried to make tzitzis this way. I presented it to Shmuel. Can't correct it. You hung the strings without cutting it. Rosh Echutin Shalayim Psulin. V'o Tani Gabi Succa, which is Kashan Rav. It says by Succa Tasev Lo Mina Osui. Succa has to be made l'shem Succa. You can't take something that was built for something else and without kavana. If you dragged vines on top of the sukkah and put schach on top of it, psula. What's the case? You didn't cut it. So that's a chiddush. That's not a chiddush. That's not because you didn't prepare them as schach and they have kavana. If you didn't cut them, they're still connected to the ground. It's not kosher schach. We aren't talking that you cut it. Ukitani psula. Ushmamina. Therefore, we see the law. By cutting it is a simon that you've designated as schach, which is a kashan Rav, who said that cutting it is enough. So you have to the Rav. You just threw him there without any kavana. Therefore, by cutting it, it's not clear that you're making it for schach. Fine, he answered you about the sukkah, but the case about the tzitzis, he didn't answer you. Kasha remains a kasha on Rav. Let us say that it's
only possible by tzitzis, where you can't have tasminosa. Tzitzis, you cannot put it on and cut it.
If you hung them initially, not the strings, you put them and then you cut them while they're on the tzitzis, it's possible.
Possible, yeah, it's a halacha. Yeah.
You can't fix it. If you cut them afterwards, it doesn't correct it. Lema kitanoi over veliktim. This is a case of hadassim on sukkahs, that if the hadas has these like berries on them, and you want to try to cut them off, and you're not supposed to do it on Yont if you did it, still the hadas is possible. Because when you hunt it, it's passive lo min asui. The Rabbi Shimon Bar Yotzei, Chachamim machshirin. However, the Chachamim say it's kosher. Why? How do we explain this machlokas? The four species have to be brought together in one unit. Because we learn lulav from sukkah. You can't construct it in the middle of sukkahs. It's got to be constructed prior. The man de machshir, one who says that the hadas is kosher sovar. Number one, it got to be sukkah. When you cut vines, placed on top of that's enough of having kavanah that you want it for schach. So gabi lulav nami liki toss and zuas yason. When you cut the berries off, because you want the hadas to be kosher, just like by the schach, it's kosher. Here it's kosher. Man de apostle sovar lo gabi sukkah tzisas and zuyas yason. By sukkah, where if you dangled the grapevines on the schach and then cut it, by lulav it doesn't work. Similarly, gabi lulav nami lo armin lekisas zu asiyos. So is that the machlokas? Lo. Gemara says no. We don't say by sukkah that if you cut it after sukkahs, it's considered that, or even before sukkahs, it's considered that you prepared it for l'shem sukkah. So what's the machlokas? Do you even learn the din of lulav from the din of sukkah? Man de machshir. The Chachamim who say it's okay to cut the berries off the hadas savar, lo yalfin lulav min sukkah. We don't compare lulav from sukkah. Therefore, the tasim and asoi issue goes away. Uman de pasol savar yalfin lulav min sukkah. Boy, same if you want. I'll tell you, it's another way of describing the machlokas. That if everyone holds that lulav, you have to bring all the species together, that everyone agrees that you learn lulav from sukkah. Therefore, what's the machlokas? If you don't have to bring them together, so then there's no special action of preparing the hadas lemitzvah. At any time you do it, if you don't need eged, at any time you do it, it's going to be roy for lulav. And this machlokas is another machlokas tanoi. Blopukta dani tanoi, the Tanya. Lulav, bein agud, bein shena agud, kosher. The Tanakh of this price says whether you bring all the species together in one bind or whether you don't, it's kosher. Rabbi Yehuda agud kosher. If you bind them together, it's kosher. Shena agud pasul. My time in Rabbi Yehuda. Yolef lekicha lekicha magudas ezov. We learn a hekesh from the word ulakachtem, from putting together for the Korban Pesach, or by the Paraduma. Excuse me, by Pesach Mitzrayim. It says ulakachtem agudas ezov. You shall put together a bundle of hyssop. Uksivach ulakachtem bayom harishon. You shall take on the first day of Sukkot, creates adar kapos tmarim, the lulav. Mala halam baguda, just by the Korban Pesach had to be together. Avkanami baguda. So that's where Rabbi Yehuda says lulav needs eged. V'rabbanon lekichim lekicha lo yafina. They don't learn that hekesh. Now, kiman azla adatanya lulav mitzvah lo oigdoi. The Rebbe says it's a mitzvah to put the lulav together. Lo agdo kosher. If you don't put it together, it's still okay. Now, Rabbi Yehuda kilo agdo amai kosher. How could Rabbi Yehuda held that you've got to have eged? It can't be Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbanon amai mitzvah. So what kind of mitzvah? They said you don't need eged. I said, lo rabbanani. The eged creates beauty. Yishum shenemar zek keli vanveyu. It's not the mitzvahs. It's nicer to put the lulav together. Ze'aklal called davar shemakabel tuma. For schach, if it's a kli, which is makabel tuma, you can't use it as schach. You know, immediately, Amr Shlokish Amakra, it says, Eid Yalem in Aretz. A river will come out of the ground. Ma Eid Dover Shem Makabel Tuma. River is not Makabel Tuma. Vigidulam Aretz comes from the ground. Av Succa, Dover Shem Makabel Tuma, Vigidulam Aretz. That's how the Gemara wants to learn. Hanich Lamanda Amr Ananei Kavadayu. But that's a basic machlokas. What was the Sukkah that Bnei Yisrael dwelled with in the Midbar for 40 years? Some hold it refers to the Anunnaki. They didn't actually live in booths. The clouds of glory that encircled them, that's the Sukkah. So then you can compare one natural phenomenon like a river to the natural phenomena of clouds. But according to Manda Omer that says that in the 40 years in the Midbar, they actually dwelled in little huts, Michael and Maimar. So then what's the basis of connecting a sukkah to a river? And where do we see this machlokas? The Tanya. Kiva sukkos or shafti es bnei Yisrael botzios ha'meretz Mitzrayim. I saved you in sukkahs. Anane kavod hayu divrei Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer says it refers to the anane hakavod. Rabbi Kiva Omer, sukkahs mamish ha'sulam. No, it was regular booths. So I understand comparing it to a river. Anichel Rabbi Eliezer. El Rabbi Kiva Michael Amer. How does Rabbi Akiva learn? Kiaz Rav Dimi Amar Rav Yechon Amar Kra. Chag HaSukkos Taselacha. We learn it from a different limud, that tzchach has to be something that's not mekabel tumah. Mekish sukkah lechagiga. Ma chagiga is an animal, which is a korban, becomes a korban chagiga. Dover shem mekabel tumah, and v'gidulam it grows from the ground. Av sukkah dover shem mekabel tumah v'gidulam na'aretz. So the tzchach of the sukkah has to be the same. Right now we're going to be on Yud Beis, Mario.
Hold on.